All right, if you've been following, we're in Job chapter 20. Thank you, Pastor Ty, for covering last week. That was awesome. I know many of us enjoyed it. Now we're in Job chapter 20 and 21. We're going to briefly just kind of go over it a little bit. And here we are. I think, if I'm not mistaken, one of the reoccurring themes that we see, even if it's not obviously or if it's not stated in the verses, in the chapters that we've been reading. The theme that keeps popping up is that, number one, bad things happen to good people. That's just life. Okay? Bad things happen to good people. And number two is that we're going to ask why. And Pastor Isaac has said it, Pastor Josh has said it, we've all said it time and time again. We've asked why millions of times. Why are you allowing this in my life, Lord? Why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to my family? Why am I the one that had to lose my job? There are so many people at my office that are, and we are quick, right, to start. We can think of a million other people in our job site that should have been laid off, but not me. We ask why. Why is this happening to me? Why is it my dad who's got to go through cancer and chemo? Why is it, my son is in the hospital as a newborn. One of our young couples here in the church texted us the other day, please stand in faith with us. They have I think he's 2 or 3 months old. He's in the hospital, and he got sick. Little baby got sick, and they were praying that they wouldn't have to do a spinal tap on him. So his white blood cell count was really low. Talked to him the following day. We prayed with him over the phone, and my wife and I, we got the text over dinner, and I said, we got to pray for them. And next day, we called, texted him. We had a staff meeting Tuesday morning. Every Tuesday morning at 10 a.m., we have a staff meeting here with our entire staff. And we all said a prayer for different needs in the church. So don't ever hold back your requests from your leaders or your pastors, because a lot of times they get to us on Tuesday morning. And we'll, as a staff, if Pastor Isaac's there or not, or Pastor Josh or not, we have a staff meeting every Tuesday, and we'll sit around our table before we go into any of our daily business or weekly business for the church. And we pray for the needs of the church, for your needs, okay, our people. And so we said a prayer for the baby among all the other prayers that we said, and called him afterwards to let him know we were sending somebody to visit him and the baby and his wife. And, there was a good report that the white blood cell count had gone up. And that was a good thing. We didn't hear from him today, so I'm not sure. But we're believing and we're trusting that God's going to be good. Amen? We believe and we trust. And just really quick, side note, just as a praise report, there's approximately 200 teenagers, out there. And in a few minutes, when you hear the music die down in there, it's because they're moving to the back of the rock, and they're going to hear the word, okay? And then they're going to get their trophies. Talk about strategy, huh? So we hear that in many cases, not only hear, but see it and experience it firsthand. How many of us have experienced firsthand? Let me see, just by a show of hands. You've experienced firsthand something bad happening to you or your family. Every single one of us. Every single one of us. And so I want to make clear again and reiterate, God does not use or attack your and my life because we're sinful or because we're unrighteous. If you're going through something right now, I want to just set that clear. Nowhere in the Bible do we read that God sends calamity upon your and my life because there's some kind of secret sin in my heart, in my life. That is not the truth. If somebody tells you that, just shrug it off. You can tell them something else if you want, but one thing we've been learning is that, and I'm really glad Ty pointed this out last week, is that God is our defender. And you know what your and my job is? Do you know what your and my job is to do? Job shows us this example. Yeah, it wasn't a perfect example, but he shows us this example that your and my job, all you and I have to do, and I know this is really hard, but when you think about it, I'd rather be on this end. Let's think about that for a second. Your and my job, our job, what we have to do as his children is just trust our Father. Have faith in him. Are you listening to me? That's not easy, right? That's not easy because when you're there in the middle of that situation, you're there at the hospital, at the bedside of your loved one, of your best friend, and you don't know if they're going to live to see tomorrow. They're fighting whatever it is they're fighting. Or you're in court and you're going through a bad divorce. Or you're going through child custody, hearings. Or you're fighting whatever financial battle you're fighting. Whatever it may be, maybe your family, your children are falling apart. Not wanting anything to do with God. I don't know what the situation may be. But God says to you and I, just trust me. I like what he said to his disciples in the Gospel of John, chapter 15. Didn't he say to them, if a father hears that his son is asking him for something, is he going to give him a snake? Is he going to give him something that's going to hurt him? If a father hears his child asking him for something, will he give him something that is going to hurt him? He says, then how much more will our Father, my Father in heaven, bless you when you ask him, right? I'm paraphrasing, but you guys remember the passage, right? He says, how much more then? We can go to Matthew. When he says, seek first the kingdom of God, right? He says all these things in that same chapter. He says, if he clothes the flowers, the wild flowers of the valley in beauty, if he takes care of them, he takes care of the birds of the air. They have something to eat every single day. How much more will he not take care of you? He will. He will. And then we ask the question, right? And if he doesn't, excuse me. And if he doesn't, what did the Apostle Paul say? He said, his grace, if he doesn't answer any more of your needs, any more of my needs for the rest of my life, what he did for me on the cross, is that not enough? Is that not enough? Come on. All right. So we've established that, right? Are we good? Okay, because we're going to get into some passages, just a few, just to read them. And I want to talk a little bit about what's going on. But I don't want us to get discouraged, because if we're just starting to walk with the Lord, the book of Job can seem very discouraging. If you read the book of Ecclesiastes, man, what am I doing all this for then, right? You just kind of want to throw your hands in the air and, órale. Drop the Bible on the floor, and just be like, ay se va, whatever. Haven't you read any of these books? Ecclesiastes says, hey, what's it all worth? Why am I working so hard for? All right. Don't get discouraged. Okay, so let's go to chapter 20. We're going to go into a few verses in each chapter. Chapter 20 and then chapter 21 was my assignment for tonight. And chapter 20 now is a response from Job's friend, one of his friends, Zophar. Okay, Zophar. I like these names. They remind me of like the Aladdin movie. Okay, Jafar. And they do. I didn't grow up watching Disney. I got schooled on Disney by my wife. She's like, you did not watch Bambi? No. You did not watch, whatever. She can list you every Disney movie. I'm like, no, I've never seen any Disney movie through and through. Then we started having kids. Verse 1, chapter 20. Then Zophar, the Naamathite, answered and said. So he's answering who? Job. Job just gave a reply. They go back and forth in these chapters. So if we didn't have chapters and you were listening to this, it would sound very much like one of your, maybe not, because when we argue, we don't let each other finish. Right? I kind of wish they would have written it the way we actually do argue, but they wrote it, and I kind of have a hard time believing that they talk like this, because this is poetic, okay? If you've ever studied poetry, English majors, poetry, enthusiasts, these are full of like soliloquies and all. I mean, it's amazing how they wrote. And I was like, did they really like go at it this way? Because they're mad at each other. I don't know if you're realizing. Read it. Get like a few translations or go on BibleGateway.com and do a parallel. Do like a New King James, NIV, New Living Translation, and then do like the Message. The Message is a paraphrase. It's not an actual translation or a version. It's just a paraphrase. In other words, somebody took the Bible and put it into plain English words that we would use every day. And so he said, "What's up? How are you today?" That's basically what the Message is. Do not read that as a Bible study, okay? Do not take that and use it for a Bible study. Use it for fun or to read it to like a 2-year-old or something. I don't know. But take those and read it, and you'll be able to see how they're going back and forth. So now Zophar, he's upset. He's upset at what Job replied to him, because he's making him feel that he doesn't know anything and that he's not the smart guy that he feels and that he believes he is. So then Zophar replies, and look at his first few verses, okay? He wants to establish that he's brilliant and that he knows what he's talking about and that he's very knowledgeable. And so he says, then Zophar, the Naamathite, answered and said, "Therefore, my anxious thoughts make me answer because of the turmoil within me. I have heard the rebuke that reproaches me, and the spirit of my understanding." So he's saying that his knowledge, that his wisdom, that all his smarts have a spirit. The spirit of my understanding, he's saying like, you're stirring up all my intellect now, and I have to respond to you with all my wisdom. And the spirit of my understanding causes me to answer. Do you not know this old, since man was placed on the earth, that the triumphing of the wicked is short, and the joy of the hypocrite is but for a moment? Though his haughtiness mounts up to the heavens. In other words, he gets so big-headed. The wicked man can get so big in his own mind, right? He says, mounts up to the heavens, and his head reaches to the clouds. Yet he will perish forever like his own refuse. Those who have seen him will say, "Where is he?" He will fly away like a dream and not be found. Yes, he will be chased away like a vision of the night. This is poetry, man. I'm serious. You want to read some more? It's fun, huh? The eye that saw him will see him no more, nor will his place behold him anymore. His children will seek the favor of the poor, and his hands will restore his wealth. His bones are full of youthful vigor, but it will lie down with him in the dust. So basically, we don't even have to go into it too much. What he's saying is that, in his opinion, and in his eyes, the wicked live short lives. The wicked are but like a dream. It's there overnight and it's gone in the morning. Well, I don't know what world he lived in, But I know that the world we live in today, I see a lot of corruption. It's all over the news. You don't even have to go that far. It's all over the place. And they don't seem to be living short lives. No, or is that, are you, yes? Yeah? We can start listing names that we feel, right, are wicked men and women in this world. And they live long, healthy lives, vigorous lives. They have children, grandchildren. They pass on the wealth, right, to their great-grandchildren. It's like completely opposite of what Zophar is saying here. Completely opposite. And then look at what else he says. Look at verse 22. In his self-sufficiency, he will be in distress. Every hand of misery will come against him. When he is about to fill his stomach, God will cast on him the fury of his wrath. That sounds wonderful. It does. I believe it's happened. I do believe it. I do believe it. But the way he's describing it, not so much. Verse 28, it says, the increase of his house will depart, and his goods will flow away in the day of his wrath. This is the portion from God for a wicked man, the heritage appointed to him by God. Can you imagine Job and the condition that he's in? We're close to what we could say is almost the end of this book. Job has been struck by the worst. It is said that no one else, at least in biblical times, has seen that much calamity come upon, or has it been written that much calamity has come upon one single man. Now, we can look at modern times, right? We can look at an entire nation, a Jewish nation. Hitler tried to annihilate an entire race. Why? For no other reason, because he felt that his race was superior and that they were nothing but dogs, that they were but like the garbage of the earth, and they needed to be done away with. They say, there's a story I heard, they say that it got to the point where there was Jewish men in the concentration camps that got together and they put God on trial because they felt so abandoned by God. That why would God, the God of their ancestors, allow so much death, so much torture to happen to almost an entire nation of people? Close to being wiped out. And that they put God on trial. Can you imagine that? And they felt that God lost, that he was found guilty. And I said, that scared me. I was like, whoa, right? I wouldn't even dream. Yeah, I get mad at him sometimes. I get upset. I'm not going to lie. I say, God, man, what's up? But he shuts me up. He's quick. Quicker than he was with Job. And I'm thankful for that. And I'm also reminded that what he did for me on the cross is all that I need. That's all that I need. Because at the end of this life, I'm reminded of it at every funeral that I go to and every funeral that I have to do the services for. I was reminded of it last Saturday. Some people came and talked about the deceased like he was this amazing person. Why? Because he was so generous. He was so giving. He had a big heart. But he died from alcoholism. And they didn't want me to say that. They specifically called me and they said, could you please say that he was? And when I asked what he died of, they said, oh, he died of, he had a disease and cirrhosis of the liver. But not once did they say he died from being an alcoholic. It just came out in all the, stories that were shared. I'm reminded that this life is short and this life is going to end. And at the end of the day, see, Zophar is saying the wicked are all going to be judged, and they're going to be judged fast. God's wrath comes upon them. Their lifestyle is done away with. They don't even have time to enjoy their corruption. They don't even have time to enjoy the fruit of all their evil deeds. And that's not always true. We've already established that. We've said, we all agreed. No, we see people live long lives. We see their children inherit what they're doing and continue on. We see their grandchildren continue and live in that richness. Right? So far is saying, hey, they're all going to, Job now, we're going to go into chapter 21. And Job answers him. And I like Job because he tells him straight up, you're going to shut your mouth. I hesitated because we're like trying to tell Lucas, don't say shut up. It's not nice. Because he tries to tell us to shut up. Like, hey, dude, come here, That's when the cinto comes out. You heard about that on 8 o'clock service on Sunday, if you were here at 8 o'clock. What? No, Daddy, I'm sorry. Yeah, you better be. That's why I kind of went, shit. Sometimes I feel like I'm doing bad when I say shut up. Job tells him, you're going to shut your mouth and you're going to listen to what I have to say now. I love that. He's like, forget all the cute jargon and all the cute talk. It's my turn. I'm going to say what I have to say and you're going to sit there and listen. And then after I'm done, you can go on and say whatever you want because I don't even care anymore. He's telling his friend because let's think about Job's situation, Job's circumstance, and how he's physically feeling, number one. Pain, boils, disease throughout his body. And he won't die. God's not allowing his body to die. Number two, spiritually, he's feeling abandoned. Spiritually, he's feeling like, where is the God that I have been so obedient to all these years? Where is the God of my ancestors? Where is the God that I have called upon, that I have given so much sacrifice to? Didn't all of that count for something? Where is my God? Why are you doing this to me? Why have you taken every single one of my children from me? Why have you taken all of my wealth from me? And now you strike my body, and here I am. So he's got this big question, so he's mad because he's expecting his friends would be there for him. These are his best friends, and each and every one of them is saying to him, there is sin in your life, Job. You just don't want to come out and tell us. There's obviously something going on inside your heart. There's wickedness in your heart. And you're going to be judged just like all the other wicked on this planet. And he's saying, let me tell you something. That's right. He goes into chapter 21 and he says, verse 2, listen carefully to my speech and let this be your consolation. Bear with me that I may speak, and after I have spoken, keep mocking. As for me, is my complaint against man? And if it were, why should I not be impatient? Look at me and be astonished. Put your hand over your mouth. Even when I remember, I am terrified, and trembling takes hold of my flesh. Why do the wicked live and become old? Yes, become mighty in power. Their descendants are established with them in their sight. Their offspring before their eyes. So that means they get to see their offspring grow, their grandchildren, their great-grandchildren. They see them all grow and prosper as well. So he's saying they're living long lives, satisfying lives. Their houses are safe from fear. Neither is the rod of God upon them. Their bull breeds without failure. That means that not only are they living long lives, but if you're a farmer in those days and your cattle is continuing to multiply and they're healthy, you're a rich man. You're wealthy. Their bulls breed without failure, their cow calves without miscarriage. They send forth their little ones like a flock. I want to jump a little bit and skip some of this. Go to verse 16. He says, indeed, their prosperity is not in their hand. The counsel of the wicked is far from me. How often is the lamp of the wicked put out? How often does their destruction come upon them? The sorrows God distributes in his anger, they are like straw before the wind and like chaff that a storm carries away. They say, God lays up one's iniquity for his children. Let him recompense him that he may know it. Let his eyes see his destruction, and let him drink of the wrath of the Almighty. Because he's saying, if this is the case, I'm not seeing it. If it were so, let it be. But I'm not seeing that right here. That's what Job is telling me. I see wicked all around me. And so for me, this is where it kind of bottoms out. Job is saying to him, look, yes, God's judgment is going to be on everybody. It's going to be on you, and it's going to be on me. We're all going to have to answer to God. Right now, though, the only question I have is, why is this happening to me? So it almost seems like he's not even concerned with anything else. There's so much happening in that immediate situation. I don't know how many of us have been in a situation like that, where so much is happening to me right now, I can't see past tomorrow. I can't see past this moment, Pastor Joe. We've had phone calls of people desperate. Ready to end their lives. I can't see past this moment right now. I want to end it. He was so into his moment, and he's saying, all I really wanted, all I would have preferred was for you to sit there and just listen to my complaint. I didn't need you to give me any kind of response. Have you ever thought how important it is, how much more important it is for us to sometimes just keep our mouth shut and listen? Sometimes all people want to do is just get it off their chest. Sometimes one might be going through so much pain, and all they want to do is get a little bit of relief for just a moment, and that relief might come by way of just letting them vent. Even us saying to them, oh, I'm praying for you, brother, is sometimes like not comforting. It's not comforting sometimes. My wife told me one time, you're going to laugh. It was like our first year. I think we had just passed that, that big fight. I don't know if you all had it in your first year. We did, but they say most of them, happen within the first 6 months, first year, whatever. I don't know. I was confident it wasn't even going to come. Orgulloso. I was like, nah, we'll be fine. Fight. We get along so good. We didn't even fight when we were dating. It was all romance. Yeah, right. Romántico. She doesn't even speak Spanish. I tried to put on Luis Miguel one time for her. Some of you don't even know who that is. I don't even know who to compare him to in English, but yeah, I don't know, something like that. Right? And she was like, what's that? What's he saying? I was like, what? You don't even have to understand what he's saying. Just, that's stupid. So anyways, back to my story. God's telling me to shut up. No. So we had just had our first fight. It was bad, you know. She was mad. We were both mad. And so after that, you know, time after that, I think a few days, she finally opened up and she said, because I wanted her to, like, right then and there that night, we needed to resolve it. Let's get it done right here. Tell me, you know. Why can't you just tell me? And she just like, I just need some time. Leave me alone. And the way she said it, I knew she meant like business. So I was like, all right. Something told me like, Joe, just let it go. Let her go to the room. She went to the room, whatever. I said, all right. The next day, I think it was the next day or 2 days later, she's like, okay, I'm ready to talk now. Just like out of the blue. And I was like, what? Like I forgot what we fought about. She did too. Don't even like worry about that. She did too, but she was like, I'm ready to talk now. And, you know, we talked, and she didn't even talk about what we fought about. But she said, you know, sometimes, she goes, I don't need you to be my pastor. So in other words, I was opening my mouth too much. She goes, it's easy for you to talk. You've been talking for the past 15 years. You teach, you preach, you know how to do all that. You're good at that. She goes, I'm not. So when you want to talk, sometimes I'm not ready to talk. I was like, okay. She goes, no, stop. Wow, no. So she finally just told me, look, sometimes if I want to come talk to you, I just need you to listen to me. I don't want to hear anything. I don't want advice. Not that I don't need it. She said, I just don't want it. I don't want to hear anything that you have to say. Sometimes I just want to come and I just want to talk to you. And I just want you to listen. I don't need you to fix it. I don't need you to try to fix it. That's me. I fix things. I troubleshoot. I'm great. Even if I don't fix it, I'm great at troubleshooting. I'll find out what's wrong with it. And then I'll say, you know what? I just can't fix it though. She told me, she goes, I don't need you to fix it, try to fix it, nothing. Just listen. And I said, dang. I said, okay. It was hard, you know, because you're not used to that. Especially somebody telling you like that, like, cállate la boca. Was basically what she was telling me was that, like that. If she would have spoke Spanish, that's what she would have said. Sometimes our silence and lending our ear heals more wounds than anything you and I could ever brilliantly, spiritually, because we want to always spiritualize everything. Anything we can say. Sometimes that's all they need. All they need is for you to listen, be with them, cry with them, hug them. Don't say a word. And that's what Job was basically trying to communicate to them. What I needed most from you guys couldn't do. But you've got me so riled up that if we're going to do this, okay then. Because that's what happened. He said, let's do it. And they went back and forth. And he ends and he says, at the end of 21, and who repays him for what he has done? 31. And then 32. Yet he shall be brought to the grave, and a vigil kept over the tomb. The clouds of the valley shall be sweet to him. Everyone shall follow him, as countless have gone before him. And then, can you comfort me with empty words? Since falsehood remains in your answers. And that's the end of 21. Bad things happen to good people. Bad things happen to good people. Whether God allows it or not, sometimes it's just part of life. If we sat here and looked at everything negative that happened to us on a daily basis and only pointed out the negative, we would think that Satan had our number every single day. We would think, I said this on Sunday, Satan cannot be attacking you and attacking me at the same time. Sometimes life just sucks. Sometimes bad things happen to us. But the beauty is, and at the end of the day, you and I have a rock that we can lean on. We have a shelter that we can hide under. That when we can't hang in there, when we are out of strength, when our faith is weary, when our sorrow is so much that waking up in the morning hurts and depression starts to settle in, God is saying, I'm still here. God is saying, trust me, Erika. God is saying, have faith in me, Joe. God is saying, I am here. No matter how much it hurts, no matter how bad it gets, I will always be there. And that's all we need.